Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. A lot of you have asked what mechanics are missing from the current list of party members. What archetype can you choose that would allow you to do something your team otherwise wouldn't be able to do? In this video, I'm going to provide you with 5 different build concepts that will allow you to fill a gap your team would potentially have. These are not full builds. It's more so skeletons that should give you an idea of what you can do in your own playthrough. Let me know down in the comments what kind of playthrough all of you plan to do for your first run in the game. If you enjoyed this content, please leave me a like and subscribe to the channel for more CRPG related videos. The first concept I'll provide is Lord Highslander. He is a hardcore Imperialist who believes Xenos should be exterminated and that humanity is destined to rule the stars. He's an Imperial World noble officer who will eventually become a master tactician. This will be the first run I do for the channel's Let's Play, and there are several reasons it's great for the team. First, you get a party member named Cassia, who has access to an incredible suite of navigator talents and abilities that nobody else can use. You really want her focusing on that, which means she cannot focus on our archetype, which is Officer. Officer is the hardest archetype to use, but it's also one of the most rewarding because it allows you to give multiple turns to the allies that you need the most in any given situation. Maybe you want your tank to go so they can heal themselves or attract the attention of enemies focused on soft targets. Maybe there's a great opportunity for your main damage dealer to eliminate multiple enemies at one time. Officer also provides many opportunities to increase resolve and quicken your momentum gain. This is critical for your entire team because it helps unlock ultimate abilities much faster. As you get deeper into the game, strategic use of ultimate abilities is essential to overcoming some of the challenges you'll face. Some fights have you face so many enemies, every party member on the team will get a chance to use an ability before you are finally done. There's just a ton of different applications to officer abilities, so you want at least one party member focused on those mechanics. You do get another officer party member called Jay, but she has unique talents that clearly lean towards concentrating on her ranged damage instead of party members. Therefore, similar to Cassia, it doesn't really make sense to focus on Officer the way you might want to. Last but certainly not least, focusing on Fellowship will significantly increase your ranks with all the conversation related skills. You do have the option to let a party member handle them, but there are multiple points in the story when you are separated from the party during a conversation. Consequently, it's helpful for your main character to be competent with at least persuasion. Altogether, this means it's advantageous for your main character to fill this role. Imperial World is obviously a great homeworld choice for someone doing an Imperium run, but in addition to that, the Ready to Serve talent works great for officer builds. This is triggered when using a non-damaging ability on allies, and it increases their resolve by half your Fellowship bonus for 1 round. Not only will you be doing this every turn, but sometimes you would use abilities on 2 or even 3 party members, so this is fantastic. Imperial World will also let you get a +10 bonus to Fellowship right off the bat, which is very helpful. Noble completely centers around making one party member your servant and then repeatedly using abilities to buff it. Again, that's all you do as an officer, so this pairing goes together perfectly. I like upgrading this build into Master Tactician because that archetype's main feature centers around converting momentum into extra damage. By the time you can choose this class, you'll have a lot more action points to work with every turn. While you are an officer, most of your time is spent buffing the party with very little opportunity for offense. Master Tactician makes it very viable to buff someone, give a crucial party member an additional turn, and then annihilate some poor slob with a weapon of your choosing. Next on the list is Commander Highslanderer. She's a heretic who has no real goals or desires other than to have a great time and watch the world burn. She's a fortress-born pyromancer markswoman, and later on she becomes a master tactician. This will be the character I run during our live stream of the game, and yes, I do plan to start back live streaming shortly before Rogue Trader comes out. This setup works extremely well because it fits a Psycho playstyle that neither one of the Psycho party members you get can fill. skill. Adira automatically comes with telepathy and divination. You can give her pyromancy, but it doesn't really make sense because there isn't enough talents and abilities to level 3 psyker categories at the same time. In addition, she's an operative, which honestly I don't think works all that well for somebody who's supposed to bomb the field. She's focused on buffing party members, debuffing enemies, and then occasionally picking off a couple of foes, so pyro doesn't really work for her. Heinrichs is an even worse choice because he's a melee-oriented psyker, so willpower doesn't do much for him. He uses psyker abilities to self-buff and then attack enemies in melee. Pyromancy doesn't assist with that at all, so it's a poor combination. Therefore, choosing Pyromancy for yourself will provide access to a suite of abilities that don't really work for the team that you get. The other advantage of this setup is it's damage focused in a way your other Psyker party members are not. Fortress Born gives you Never Stop Shooting, which provides a chance that your first attack will cost 0 action points and not count towards the attack limit per round. Marksman gives you the Run and Gun feature, which lets you attack an additional time in the same turn. Therefore, this setup potentially allows you to use damaging Psyker powers 3 times in one turn. Adira doesn't get anything that mimics this effect. Heinrichs kind of does, but not in a way that lets him use more damaging Psyker powers. He could just use more of them in general. Therefore, you will be able to unload Psyker goodness in a way that neither of your Psyker party members are able to. Remember that Psyker powers are weapon attacks, so if you decide to dabble a little into Marksman, those talents will help you to deal even more damage. You should still spend most of your time focusing on Pyromancer, which means for your upgrade archetype, the only thing that really matters is the feature and ultimate ability. You are not going to select many of its talents or powers anyway. I like Master Tactician because again, it transforms momentum gains into a pure damage bonus. Your team should be generating momentum like crazy, which means every time your turn comes around, at least one of your attacks will get a nice fat bonus. All around, this setup should make you a powerhouse that sets everything on fire and decimates enemies. Next on our list is the Kingpin. This is a benevolentia character who truly believes the best way to help the poor and downtrodden is to put himself in charge. He's a void-born crime lord who is also an operative and later on a combat strategist. You get Pascal as an operative party member and he has a very high intelligence score but is terrible at fellowship. This is irrelevant for the first 15 levels because operative doesn't need fellowship at all. The problem comes when it's time to use the upgrade archetype that clearly works best for him, grand strategist. It uses intelligence heavily, so Pascal will still be good at it, but it also uses fellowship quite a bit. That means that Pascal is really only using the class to half its full potential. Voidborn gets a talent called Be Smart, which allows you to use your intelligence bonus in place of fellowship when it's higher for abilities or talents. Making your Voidborn character take this talent allows you to be a better grand strategist than Pascal or any of your other party members could ever be. Keep in mind that you'll still need Jay or Cassia because this only works with abilities and talents, not skills, and there are multiple fellowship-based skills that are a must-have for your team. Making a character who is fantastic at Grand Strategist is advantageous on multiple levels. That character automatically goes first in combat, so you'll be able to lay down buffs and debuffs before enemies can react even in tough boss fights. A strategist can designate large areas for significant effects that make your party members virtually invulnerable or allow you to shred enemies much easier. Not having one on your squad makes the game significantly more difficult. Crime Lord is a great complement to this setup because they get Surefire Plan, which can provide a significant percentage bonus to your damage. How many stacks of Surefire Plan you get is determined by your intelligence, so a character that's stacking it high will really benefit from this origin. Altogether, this means that even though you and Pascal will use the same 2 archetypes, you'll be better at buffing, debuffing, and frankly even damage than he ever could be. Next on the list is Domino. Deep down, she's a carefree spirit, but she does have a personal code and does not deviate from it. She doesn't fit neatly into any particular disposition, so there's a little bit of heresy, a little bit of Imperium in her, and some benevolentia as well. She's a fortress-born Astra Militarum commander and a markswoman. Later on, she will become a bounty hunter. Your party member Agenta is fantastic, and she'll absolutely mow down enemies, but most likely you'll either put a bolt bolter or flamer in her hands. That means there's room on the team for someone to serve as a sniper. This is extremely advantageous because a lot of enemies like to post all the way up on the other side of the battlefield in hard to reach areas. Oftentimes they are out of Argenta's range and there's no way for her to get closer without getting completely shredded. There are multiple ways to deal with this situation, but nothing is better than having a character who can just steady her rifle and end the problem for one action point. You get a party member named Urilet who is also a sniper, but she starts as an operative. Operative has a lot of talents that revolve around being a sniper, but none of them mirror the run and gun feature you get from Markswoman. Being able to fire off a sniper round twice in one turn is priceless, and I think this is a better way to start a long-range build. We have already talked about Fortress World and why it's so great for attack-oriented characters. Astra Militarum Commander gives you regimental tactics, which at minimum provides a 26% bonus to damage for the entire team against any enemies that have one of your allies next to them. There's another talent you can take that at minimum stacks an additional 13% to this damage if you are adjacent to an ally. Both of these figures can grow significantly larger if you focus on perception, and none of your party members come with this origin. It's an absolutely insane boost for your entire team. I like Bounty Hunter for this character because it doesn't feel right for your party members. Argenta is going to constantly switch between single target and burst attacks, so Arch Militant is the clear choice for her. Pascal doesn't focus on damage, so he's clearly a grand strategist. Urilet could be a bounty hunter, but as an operative, she's all about taking advantage of an exposed enemy weakness, and to me, Assassin's mechanics fit in more with what she is doing. None of the other party members can even select bounty hunter, so it's nice having a character with completely different mechanics. It also doesn't hurt that bounty hunter is fantastic and will provide multiple mechanics that really help to reinforce your range capabilities. Last on the list is Ragnar Lothbrok. Wholly consumed with his own power, he pillages and plunders everything and everyone that crosses his path. When it suits him, he's an Imperialist, and when it doesn't, he's a heretic. Whatever allows him to conquer more worlds and massacre more people. He's a Death World Commissar who starts as a warrior and eventually becomes an assassin. This plugs a significant gap among your party members by presenting a character who can use melee weapons to their fullest brutal extent. Abelard is focused on tanking, so while he is competent at melee combat, most times he's not really going to wow you with the amount of damage he does. Heinrichs is great in melee combat, but it's because you'll layer multiple psycho buffs onto him, not because of his actual martial ability. Also, there are one-handed force swords in the game that directly interact with his psycho rating, so most likely he'll stick with that weapon type, whereas this character can take two-handed weapons and use them to their fullest extent. Ulfar obviously looks like he could be this brutish type of character, but actually he's significantly better in range combat, and you are very limited as far as what items can be equipped onto him. I finished all of Act 3 and never found a two-handed weapon he was willing to wield, and just overall, he uses melee combat to supplement his ranged attacks, but it's definitely not his focus. It's advantageous to have this type of character on the field because for the vast majority of the game, your team will be heavily outnumbered, oftentimes by enemies who will attempt to rush towards you. Having a character who can not only rush out to hold the line, but also eliminate large swaths of enemies trying to break through is very helpful and frankly an entertaining way to play. This will also allow you to utilize gear which directly assist in melee combat that your party members will probably pass over. Everything about Death World, from its features to its talents, is a perfect fit for this type of character, as it centers around melee combat and being able to shrug off a significant amount of damage. You want to not only deal great damage, but also serve as an off-tank, or perhaps the only tank on the field. I honestly don't like Commissar, even though it's the best melee origin, but it's perfect for a Ragnar run because it's all about pushing your comrades to do their absolute best. At all costs will give allies an extra turn with action and movement points when they kill an enemy you have targeted with an attack. It will also give all your allies additional action and movement points to use on their next turn. This is great to use against elites and bosses. Warrior is obviously a great choice to start on this build, but Assassin is fantastic as the upgrade because none of your party members can use it properly. Pascal isn't damage focused, so assassin doesn't make sense. Abelard is focused on taking, so again, not a good choice for him. I have Urilet use assassin, but frankly the archetype really shines in melee combat, and obviously she's a sniper, so she doesn't utilize it to its full capacity. I also usually have Heinrich select this option, but it's not great for him because he's wholly focused on developing psyker abilities, so he doesn't take full advantage of the archetype. By selecting this yourself, you'll develop its mechanics to an extent that really doesn't make sense for the rest of your team and plug a potential gap. That's the full list of potential build options I want to walk through for this game. Again, I am really curious to hear what kit you all plan to use during your first playthrough, so let me know down in the comments. I will continue making content for this game up until release, so let me know if there's any other videos you want to see. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.